What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the interweb? This is a pilot for a video series that I wanted to make for a long time about games I wish I could play again for the very first time. So if this video does good, we will do more of this. With that being said, let's get into 5 games that I wish I could play again for the very first time. As you can see by the color of the boxes, these games are across multiple platforms. First game I wish I could play again for the very first time is a Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I got Metal Gear Solid 3 for Christmas in 2004. I remember going to Toys R Us and picking it out because I got it in a guitar and it wasn't, good. So we took it back and I got this instead. This game has influenced my life so much. I have completed this game more than I have any other game. If you might recall, when I got the 3DS remake of this, I posted that I had officially beat the game for the 80th time. Well, now I can officially update you, thanks to the PlayStation 5 remaster of this game, I have now beat this game over 100 times. This game influenced my life so much. I mean, this gave me an interest in history for the most bizarre reason, and it was because of the Cold War. I was 8 years old, or 7 years old when this game came out, and here I was at 7 years old going into 8 years old. I was running around the library at my school trying to learn as much as I could about the Cold War. You know how weird that is for a child to take an interest in the Cold War? Well, I did, and it was very weird. My teachers, when I go back to see them these days, they tend to remind me that that was a very weird period. But just thinking about this game's design, its gameplay, its story, its level design, everything about this is just perfect. I can go back and play it again today whenever I want to, but if I could go back to 2004 and play this again for the first time on the PlayStation 2, that would be perfect. Absolutely perfect. Next game on that list, I'm sure this is going to be on a lot of your all's list as well, is Mass Effect. Mass Effect was really and truly the first major Xbox exclusive. You had Halo, but Halo didn't really care too much about the story. It's more of an online game, but this changed everything. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, it is my opinion, and I'm sure there's analysts and data that can back this up. This is what won at the Xbox 360 that console generation. Of course, PlayStation 3 eventually caught up and passed it, but for the majority of that console generation, the 360 was on top. And I can promise you this was it, because this was basically everyone's gateway drug into Xbox. The story of this game was so rich, the RPG structure of it, the gameplay, everything. Even to this day, nearly 20 years later, there is not a game that can hold a flame to this. Even Mass Effect 2 and 3, not as good as this. Andromeda, I mean, do we even have to talk about it? Do we? And now we have Mass Effect 4 that's officially been confirmed, it's in production. When that comes out, it's going to be a great game, but is it going to live up to this? More than likely not. The first time I played this game was during the winter. I did not play it as it came out. However, when I was playing through it, Mass Effect 2 and 3 had already came out, so I already had a whole marathon in front of me. But I remember playing through this, and at this point in time, because I had graduated early, I was not in school, I was just thinking, oh my god, like, this is... why did I wait so long to play this? I played this during the build-up to Mass Effect Andromeda, and this got me so hyped for that game. Ultimately, I was let down like most people, but this game just changed everything, really. Even to this day, every RPG that comes out tries to mimic it, they can't do it. I wish so bad that I could play this again for the first time. Next up, my first game that's kind of going to be like, why is that in your list? That's Days Gone. Days Gone was without a doubt one of the best games on the PlayStation 4. I've completed it on Platinum twice actually. Once on my main profile, then I made a new profile just to do it again. I haven't Platinumed it on Steam. I will at some point, but oh my god, dude, this was just perfect. It came out at a perfect time. Resident Evil 2 Remake had just came out. Everybody was looking for that next zombie itch. Unfortunately, the game journalists were kind of douchebags about it, so the game ended up not doing as good as it could have. But if you played this, the story, the gameplay, the world design, oh my god, you know just how perfect and unique this game was. And it left on a massive cliffhanger, and I hate that we're never going to get to see what happens next. But the love story, the plot twist, everything about this, it was just, can't get much better. You really can't. I don't do this as much anymore, but I remember back in the day when this game came out, I would be in Discord calls with my friends well after I had Platinum this game. We would just be sitting there talking and I'd be running around, completely resetting my map every so often, doing all these takeout missions again, killing all these zombie hordes. It was one of those games I wish I could play again for the first time. And honestly, I had already platinumed this and everything way before the pandemic, but this game I spent so much time in during the pandemic. I think when it came out, I made a couple different videos talking about how I wished Resident Evil would do something like this, and still to this day, I stand by that. I wish Resident Evil would do something like Days Gone. The next game on this list, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say 99.9% of you watching have never heard of this game before, and that is Project Cross Zone on the Nintendo DS. Project Cross Zone was kind of like a unique kind of game because it was this big crossover between Capcom and Sega, and a couple other IPs were thrown in there as well. But basically everything from Sega. This was the first one. Yakuza and all of them didn't show up until the second game, but the first one I played more than the second one, so I would love to play this for the first time again. But it was so bizarre seeing Resident Evil characters interact with Yakuza characters, interact with ninjas, interact with all these random fighting game characters coming in together, worlds being designed in a 2D space based off of these random IPs just coming together, and it was a turn-based battle game, and I love those games. This was from that weird era of the 3DS where every game that came out was experimental. Everything that came out was unique. There was just games coming out that you just would have never thought would be a thing, and this is one of them. And there's been rumors that Project Cross Zone 3 could become a thing, but if it were to become a thing, I don't think it would be as good as this. I'm pretty sure it'd be 3D, and having this series in 2D is just kind of what made it, you know, its thing. I've been trying really hard not to spoil any of these games, so it's so hard to say why I would like to play them again without spoiling. I'm not going to spoil this obviously, but there's literally no way to describe this game without spoiling something major. Because from the very first mission, the very first level, there's major things going on, and this was just a really good passing of time game for me. I remember I would come home from school, get my homework and everything done, immediately turn on the 3DS and just start, you know, whacking away hours of this game. This game is hard, so is the second one. It took me, I want to say like 130 hours to finish this one. The second one took about 90. There's so much in these games. If I could go back in time to be a teenager again and play this for the very first time, I would do it in a heartbeat. And now, one of the games that I like to consider is what really made me a gamer and what really got me into this lifelong hobby, all this collecting, this big beefy gaming PC back here, this channel, everything else. That is Final Fantasy X on the PlayStation 2. Final Fantasy X, when I got my PlayStation 2, because obviously I was a kid, I didn't get it day one, this was one of the first games I got on it. One of the very first games. And I remember this was the only game I had that was a story-based game. I didn't have a memory card. I remember I would just play the Zanarkand opening and the Beset Island opening so many times, over and over and over and over again. It took me about a month and a half before I got a memory card so I could save my games. And then I finally got to play through this game from start to finish for the first time. And I still remember those memories as a kid, just being blown away at how realistic the game looked. Obviously now these days the game looks kind of dated, but at the time it was just, there was nothing better. This was the best looking game you could ever see, and you can kind of see it here on the back where it says it. I don't know if the camera's gonna focus or not, but it said real-time facial expressions. That was a major thing for the PlayStation 2. Up to this point, we had never seen that before. Nowhere. And obviously I came in a little late, I was about a year or two late to the PlayStation 2. It was just mind-blowing seeing that as a kid, because it's like, oh my god, this looks like a Disney movie, but it looked better than a Disney movie. Tidus' story in this is just one of those long-lasting stories that you just never forget about. There was a whole era where Square Enix could not be broken, they could not be stopped. Everything they did was straight gold. From Final Fantasy VII until Final Fantasy XIII, everything that Square Enix did was just a pure masterpiece. Obviously 13 too and Lightning's Return shouldn't have existed, but up until then, everything was perfect. Even after that, from their side studios, Tomb Raider was a really great game. Deus Ex was really great. This was a perfect era for Square Enix, and I think this game, more so than anything else, is just the go-to PlayStation 2. Like, you want to show off what this console's capable of, you go to this game. One thing I do a lot that I don't really talk about, but I should probably make videos about, I buy a lot of PlayStation 2 memory cards, and I buy a lot of PSPs. The reason I do this is because I like looking at history from other people's perspective. Obviously the PlayStation 2 memory cards is not the same because I'm just seeing people's save data, the date and when this happened, you know, all that stuff. But with the PSPs, you can see everything that people did, their music interests, their photos, their videos, and everything else. But looking at every memory card for the PlayStation 2 I see, every one that I buy I should say, this is gonna be in them. I like at least 4 out of every 5 PlayStation 2 memory card, this game is in somebody's save. I genuinely feel like of the people who actually played games on the PlayStation 2, because obviously a lot of people bought it as a cheap DVD player, I genuinely think this is one of those games that had an almost 100% attach rate. Maybe one day they'll remake it, maybe not. I think more often than not, all these games I just listed will get remade at some point, so I will technically be able to play them again for the first time, but not really. Do you have any games that you wish you could play again for the first time? Let me know in the comments down below. Any tips or tricks you'd like to give me for these videos if they come out in the future with a part 2 of this? Also let me know about that in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, shout out to that. I'll see you in the next video.